A slamming door woke Tara Pakanich out of a deep sleep in the early hours of February 23, 2022. The sound was unusual enough that she got up to inspect her home. Tara knew that her adult son, Shad Theron, and his girlfriend, Taylor Schabusiness, had been holed up in the basement for the past 2 days. While she hadn't laid eyes on them in more than 24 hours, she had heard them cavorting and carrying on down there. But now it was forebodingly silent, and someone had left the porch light on. How annoying. She navigated the darkened house to her son's basement bedroom. No one was there, but something incongruous caught her eye. A bucket with a towel draped over it. Curious, Tara pulled back the towel and looked straight into her son's lifeless eyes. But there was more than just her son's head in that ghastly 5-gallon bucket of horror. This is Schabusiness before pleasure.
So Mom, Dad, Kevin, Carrie, Brendan.
I can't believe that you murdered him.
It would have been one of the last weekends.
Shad Theron, 24, lived a quiet life working for his father's family business while he stayed in his mother's basement. He had been dating an old high school friend on and off for some time, a 25-year-old woman named Taylor Schabusiness. She was married, but that didn't really matter to either one of them. Taylor lived in her own apartment with a roommate not far from Tara Pakanich's house. On February 21, 2022, she picked Shad up from his mother's house at around 9 p.m. to party with her and her roomie at their apartment. They smoked some pot, then some meth for good measure, and after the roommate left, the two had a nightcap of injected trazodone, an antidepressant often used for its sedating properties. Somehow, Schabusiness was able to drive her van back to Shad's basement dwelling later that night, and the two crashed there. According to Taylor, during her police interview, she and Shad were indulging in some BDSM sex on February 22, 2022. They used silver choker chains that Theron had purchased for the two of them. It was going swimmingly as Taylor dominated Shad during the drug-soaked sex games, but Schabusiness wanted to spice up the roleplay a little more this time. What would be more arousing than choking your lover with a chain? For Taylor, allegedly, it was choking him to death. Too bad for her, it was a trick she could only perform once. Schabusiness wasn't done after Theron's heart stopped, however. She stayed several hours with her boyfriend's body in Pakanich's basement. He was still warm, and so was she. But the drugs and necrophiliac urges seemed to wear off at the same time, and now she had a body to dispose of. Good thing she was a long-time #1 fan of Jeffrey Dahmer, because the late serial killer had been an ace at dismembering his dead lovers. She set about her grotesque work using whatever items she could find in that basement. One item was a bucket. Taylor was responsible for the slamming door that woke Tara out of REM sleep that morning. She had loaded Shad's body parts into her van using various boxes and containers from the Pakanich basement, but by her own account, she became lazy and sloppy as her drug cocktail wore off. She left the most important container behind in the basement, that godforsaken bucket with all her favorite pieces of Shad. The 911 call from Tara Pakanich must have been shocking, but police didn't have to spend much time finding the murderer. Taylor found them. The police were outside her apartment searching her van when she stumbled upon the officers. If her blood-stained clothing at the time of her arrest wasn't incriminating enough, the human legs found in a crock pot box in her van was a clincher. Schabusiness reportedly told the police everything during her interrogation, even admitting that seeing Shad choking and fighting for his life had been the ultimate turn-on. This particular tidbit was what got her the additional third-degree sexual assault charge. Taylor didn't spill the beans to ease her conscience, however. She had a plan. Time to roll out the insanity defense. Perhaps history would have been different if Taylor took her blood-covered Schabusiness to Walmart instead. According to one young shopper, nobody would have looked twice.
We were walking and we didn't want to look suspicious. We were already covered with blood, which looked suspicious, so we didn't run.
So Walmart, you filled up your water bottles and washed off the blood?
We considered the fact that we might be questioned why we were covered with blood, but then we decided it's Walmart. So
that's normal.
Huh? There are pictures of people that are pretty much naked at Walmart. So nobody looks twice.
You can find out how that little girl and her friend came to be covered in crimson on our main channel, Absolutely Criminal. The two-part episode blurs the line between fiction and reality, back when such a dividing line existed, anyway. If you're enjoying the show, please help us grow by hitting thumbs up, subscribe, and ring the notification bell for more twisted tidbits. Now let's get back to the Schabusiness at hand. On May 19th, Taylor told Brown County Judge Thomas Walsh that she considered herself incompetent to stand trial at her competency hearing.
I just need to simply ask you at this time whether you are asserting that you are competent to proceed or not competent to proceed.
Competent.
I'm sorry? Incompetent? Okay. Okay.
Well, we are inclined to agree. Actual experts had been hired to examine Schabusiness as she waited in jail for her competency hearing. During the 4-hour court session, 2 board-certified forensic psychiatrists outlined their findings from their interviews with the defendant. The state's forensic psychiatrist Deborah Collins had spent about 75 minutes with Schabusiness on April 4th. Dr. Collins revealed that the defendant's medical history included diagnosis of bipolar disorder, ADD, ADHD, and PTSD. Her substance abuse history included meth, cocaine, Xanax, acid, and alcohol. Dr. Collins concluded that Schabusiness was not suffering from psychosis and understood the court proceedings as well as the possible penalties if she is convicted. In other words, Schabusiness was competent to stand trial. On April 22nd, Dr. Tracy Lucetta, the expert for the defense, had conducted a 2-hour interview with Schabusiness. Contrary to the state's expert, Lucetta revealed that the defendant had thought she could receive the death penalty if convicted, not an option in Wisconsin. This expert also noted that the defendant had made delusional statements during the interview and often needed to be redirected to the questions. The defense attorney for Schabusiness argued that the defendant had not received mental health treatment during the weeks separating the 2 evaluations, but Judge Walsh didn't buy that, noting that these were findings of 2 different psychiatrists, and he deemed the defendant competent to stand trial. Later, in Taylor's June 2nd preliminary hearing, probable cause was found to proceed with the felony case against Taylor Schabusiness. Her arraignment hearing took place on July 5, 2022, in which she pled not guilty to the charges. Her court date for trial is set for October 19, 2022, and she is held on a $2 million cash bond.
Tux is a cool cat. He loves to hate crime. So be like Tux and hate crime with us. We are absolutely criminal.
On a late Friday morning in August, in the quiet neighborhood of Butler Township, Ohio, just 10 miles north of Dayton, a man sat in his home recording a Facebook video that presented the nonsensical rantings of a rather deranged individual. His thoughts aren't private. They've been attacking him and his family, using mind control, like ventriloquists. His friends and loved ones, his nieces and nephews will understand. Then, this man who claimed in his video that he would not be the victim of some mental disorder that does not exist, did the unthinkable. Allegedly. He has yet to have his day in court, after all. This is Mad Marlowe of Butler Township.
So mom, dad, Kevin, Carrie, Brendan.
I can't believe that you murdered him.
It would have been one of the last weekends.
Police arrived in the 7200 block of Hardwick Place after 911 calls for gunshots heard in the area were reported. It was just before noon when they walked in a home and found the bodies of 82-year-old Clyde and 78-year-old Eva Knox. The older couple had most recently celebrated their 60th wedding anniversary. In a nearby home, the crime scene was just as gruesome. 41-year-old Sarah Anderson and her 15-year-old daughter Kayla were found in a similar fashion. All 4 victims had been killed by gunshots, execution style, and the police's person of interest was a neighbor. Execution, it turns out, is not a very neighborly act, and Mr. Stephen Alexander Marlowe, it would seem, was not a good neighbor. He was, after all, the targeted individual who was simply carrying out an execution to save himself and his family and all the other TIs from telepathy attacks. You'll understand.
I've tolerated the most inhumane torture in hopes that the FBI and CIA would come to my defense, but they have failed to come to my aid. My only hope is that you come to understand what has happened here. When the world realizes what has happened, there will be justice, but I cannot sit by and be a victim any longer, and I refuse to sit by and do nothing while my nieces and nephews and the rest of my family are operated on with mind control. I will be launching the first counterattack against mind control in human history. I want to be very clear, this will not be an active shooting event. I will be executing some of the people responsible for activating shooters. If I happen to survive, please visit me in prison, if only to see the same man you have always known, rather than the victim of some mental disorder that does not exist. What you may not understand is that I will gladly die to expose this, and I will gladly die to help one other victim discover the truth of what has happened. To any TIs who read this, understand that your attackers use the form of ventriloquism I describe in the paper to move your thoughts, but your thoughts can also move their mouths. Get this out to other TIs, other voice hearers, so the world has a chance to fight back. To my family, especially my nieces and nephews, I want you to understand that what I do here, I do for your future, and hope that you can live a life free of mind control.
Then Marlowe fled the quiet neighborhood with the ghastly crime scenes in a 2007 Ford Edge SUV, leading to an immediate interstate manhunt involving local police, the FBI, and the ATF. Law enforcement suspected that Marlowe had headed west on I-70 and announced to the public to keep their eyes out. Marlowe was finally located Saturday evening over 600 miles away in Lawrence, Kansas. He was arrested by Lawrence police that evening on several counts of murder, burglary, and possessing a non-permitted firearm. Marlowe will be returning to Ohio to face the consequences of his alleged actions. Upon his return to Miami Valley, he'll face the loved ones of his victims and the sleepy community he's terrorized and jolted awake. Yes, Marlowe will have his day in court, and Absolutely Criminal will be there for it.